course, the CEO of Mendell Helium, live from the Rost well site in Kansas. Thank you very much, Nick, for taking the time in the middle of the site here to talk to us. How are you, first of all? How are things? It doesn't look very sunny in Kansas today.
No, it's not the weather we ordered. It's I don't know. You can see on the video it's sort of drizzling slightly. We've had sort of beautiful days, but this today has been a lot colder and a bit more damp. But otherwise, all good. It's been a good trip so far.
Good. So where are you sort of at the moment then? Just sort of set the scene for us if you can.
Sure. I don't know how well it'll come out on the video, but Rost itself is about 300 yards behind me. You may just about sort of make out the nodding donkey and then the blue PSA, which is next to it. I'm actually standing at Broby, which is our saltwater disposal well, which we're just in the process of, or just started the process of recompleting that. And this is really the key to Rost. We've always known that the well is going to produce a lot of water. We will in time get a bigger pump, but it's not economic to haul the water, so the idea is to dispose the water down this disposal well, and this is what we started on today.
Great. Okay, so that's what's going on right now. The disposal well. I mean, just set the scene. Is it already there? Do you have to install it? What?
Yeah. If we just sort of angle the camera down towards the well, you'll see it's in a sort of hole in the ground at the moment. So what has happened so far is that we've excavated out the well. We'll have a welder on site, probably the next hour or two, who will build the pipe you can see in the ground up to surface, and then we start. A rig will then follow fairly quickly, and we'll start the process of recompleting, which means drilling out the cement plugs that are in that well. Kansas is a very straightforward state to operate in. That other states got different rules, but we can very comfortably dispose of all the water that we may produce from Rost into that disposal well there. So the key to getting Rost up and running is to make sure we've got a place to put the water. We know there's a high helium composition. We know it's a high pressure well. We also know there's a high level of water. At the moment, the task is to deal with the water. And we're very, very fortunate we have this disposal well literally 300 yards away from the wellhead.
Yeah, indeed. So that's already been installed by a previous operator in the area, and you've got the rights to use it now. It just needs a bit of upgrading.
Exactly. So it has been plugged, but we'll drill out those plugs over the next few days. The little bit of sort of weather dependency, actually, obviously bringing in big equipment. If there's a lot of mud in the site, then it's a bit more challenging. But one of the great things about Rost is we are right next to a main road. I'm just where I'm standing at the moment. We're not more than 50 yards off the main road, so there's not a long sort of unpaved area for the rig to get through.
Okay. Good to hear. So you've had, obviously, of course, news this week as well. So the real headline was that the rig has been commissioned and is expected to arrive on site at the Rost 126 well during the course of this week. So what's the status with that? Has it arrived yet?
It's not here just yet, but it will be here very shortly. So the first stage was to dig out the old well. I mean, this is a well that's not been in use for some years. So that was dug out earlier on. We'll get the welder on site to bring the pipe up to surface, and then the next stage is the rig to come on site and drill out those plugs. So all very exciting. And as I said earlier, this is the first step in getting Rost recompleted and moving Rost onto production. Rost is a working well. I mean, it's not pumping at the moment, but we have brought gas to surface. We know the helium composition. It's just a case of dealing with the water.
Good. Okay. Good to hear. Now, of course, the RNS talks about the recompletion here is to test the target of Cherokee Age at a depth of 5,000 feet. So, I mean, do you have a timeline for the Rost completion project?
Well, we're looking to get everything done over the next couple of months.
Right.
Yeah, I'm always cautious about making too many predictions with geology, and when you start going under the ground, different things will happen. But the key here is we're very, very fortunate to have an existing well that we can use as the disposal well. This is not a greenfield site. We're treading other people's footprints. I mean, Rost itself has been worked on by a previous operator. The Broby well exists to a depth that would be more than sufficient for the water we're going to produce. And I said the location. I know the visibility is not great today, but the location just could not be better. So in terms of the entire project, I mean, the three, I suppose, big headline items are complete the disposal well, get a bigger pump on site. We know we're going to produce probably in excess of 1,000 barrels of water per day, and then connect up the PSA, which is again, I don't know if you'll see on the visibility, but just over my left shoulder. Those are the three big tasks. We've already secured a compressor. That should be with us next week. We've had various offers of tube trailers. A lot of people interested in taking on the helium. I mean, Scout have been our favoured party for quite some time, but word gets around. This is an exciting well. It's exciting for us. Exciting also for the local community. We've had a number of offers. So first step, get the disposal well drilled, get a bigger pump on site, and start planning out production.
Excellent. Okay, you've mentioned how important the water is in that disposal of that water quite a number of times here. And again, I think the recent RNS talked about the Rost being drilled in 2022, but that developer was discouraged by the need to dewater. So what challenges do you anticipate in dewatering the well, and why do you feel you can sort of handle this better?
Well, I suppose conventional wisdom is don't go where it's wet. Water will impede the flow of gas, and so you speak to any oil and gas company, they're going to look for opportunities that either have zero or not too much water. We're doing the opposite. Now, we challenged that theory in the Hugoton, which is about 50 miles away, with the Nilsen well. And we proved that in the transition zone of the Hugoton, if you do dewater a well, you can get some terrific production rates. And we've said several times that Nilsen is now one of the best producing wells over in the Hugoton. Rost is a different process. Rost, I think, is going to produce probably vastly more water than the Nilsen produced. What we don't want to do is we don't want to truck it. It's entirely possible to get a truck service that will carry the water away for you, and you're literally paying per barrel. Probably well in excess of $2 or $3 per barrel. Have a disposal well, you've got some upfront capex. The cost of water disposal is narrowly limited to the electricity running the pump. So a far more economical solution long term. We believe this disposal well could also be used for future wells in addition, or even hired out to third parties who have water to dispose, if there's any in the area. But the near-term target is it's for us to use for Rost. And I say once it's drilled out, it will be a very economical way of getting rid of that water.
Okay, so it's literally disposing of the water rather than the water being a technical challenge, for example.
Yeah, I mean, the technical challenge is how much water is going to come off. I mean, this is, we're only 50 miles from the Hugoton, but this is different territory. If I was standing in the Hugoton, you'd be seeing nodding donkeys or wells all around me. There's a whole lot less here. So we're going to find out once we get started. But we've been very conservative in our approach, and our approach is to ensure that when we do start pumping, we've got the ability to dispose of very large quantities of water. We've tried pumping Rost in the past, and we've produced a huge amount of water, but didn't have enough facility to remove it from site. We'd essentially be trucking it, and that's just not going to be economic. But what we do know, as I said, we've got very high helium composition. We've got very high pressure in the well, so take off that water, and it stands to reason the production could be absolutely terrific.
Okay, good. And there's a figure that you put in that recent press release there. So potential revenues could exceed $100,000 a month at 1/3 the PSA capacity. So what assumptions have you sort of made to underpin this estimate, and how sensitive would that number be to helium price fluctuations?
It'll be totally sensitive to the price fluctuation. What's interesting about Rost is it's, as well as being high helium, it's very high nitrogen. There's not a lot of methane in there, so we're really looking at just earning revenue from the helium. Okay. The calculation that was put out in the RNS, that's based on, as you say, running the PSA at 1/3 capacity. That PSA could run at around about 800 MCF per day. For those numbers, we were predicting just about 1/3. There's been a couple of improvements. We think the price for helium is going to be better than we used when we put out those estimates, and we've also considerably advanced our own expectations on what we think we can take out of the ground. Now these are top line figures, of course. There's a cost of running the well. There's a cost of there's certain taxes, there's certain royalties to pay. But the conclusion is Rost alone could cover all of the G&A expenses of this company. This one well, sort of sitting over my shoulder, has the ability to cover all of our cost. And so the next stage is, well, how many more Rosts can we drill? And again, the visibility is not great today, but all around us, there's a considerable amount of acreage we can be looking at. And one of the next tasks for us is to think about where we go next. If that well performs, we think it will perform, then we'll be looking to do a whole lot more in this area.
Okay, good. And just finally, Nick, how critical is the Rost well to M3 Helium's overall strategy, and also what factors either to do with Rost or generally will influence your decision to exercise the option to acquire M3 Helium?
Well, we're definitely exercising the option, so
Okay.
that's a straightforward one. The option, when it's exercised, will require us to publish an admission document, and so the view we've taken is there is no point exercising until we have the admission document ready to go. And we've indicated in the last few weeks to shareholders we are looking at different markets, and particularly we're looking at AIM. And so my expectation is we'll publish an admission document to move to AIM and simultaneously exercise that option to acquire M3. It's a call option. There is no risk. Yeah, the option is entirely in our gift as to when we choose to exercise it. Yeah, as for Rost itself, I think Rost has become something of a defining aspect to our fortunes in the coming months. But it's important to remember this company has a huge farm out deal with Scout, over 7 townships or 161,000 acres. I mentioned before we have a well called Nilsson, which is one of the best performing wells in the Hugoton. So I don't want people to think it's all about Rost. I mean, Rost is important, and the reason I'm out in the US this week is to start the process of recompleting Rost. But there's a number of other aspects of the company, and one of the things we'll be doing this week is looking around at other areas to plan for what we can do as and when Rost is in production. So this is a key moment for the company, but at the same time, we have quite a lot to go for. For a small company, there's a number of different opportunities, 2 different regions. Here we are in Fort Dodge, just a few miles outside of Dodge City, but over in the Hugoton, we already have 8 wells in that area. Yeah,
excellent. Well, thank you very much, Nick Tulloch, the CEO, Mendell Helium. I hope the work goes well getting that. The disposal well unplugged, and then you can get on with the other 2 items that you talked about there over the next couple of months and get Rost into production.
Well, terrific. We'll certainly be reporting back. There's quite a lot of activity, so once that rig gets on site, there'll be a whole lot more people here, and we'll start to advance this pretty fast.
Good. Thank you very much, Nick.
Thank you, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like, or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at StockBoxMedia.com. Thank you for watching.